bring to the table that will help to enhance the quality of your group work. Okay, so
Absolutely.
don't restrict it to what you have learned in this module, and also it would also be short-sightedness to think that everything would have been uh, um, easily, clearly, uh, um, you know, shown what we learned and what is expected in the output in this assessment 3. So assessment 3, it's universal quality operations integrated management systems. Okay. Okay. So if I may proceed. So the case is the South African basic education system. By now you should have, some view of what it is about. Okay, and also some connection of the integrated management system, which is meant to streamline, to improve certain things. So you should be now thinking of how do you tie this together so that at the end of the day you are able to form an assessment and to provide a recommendation. Okay, so students, they must identify and use appropriate quality management tools, techniques, and methods to develop a manual, IMS manual, to address these challenges that are highlighted in the case. We shared a couple of manuals with you for you to go through so that you are aware. At some stage, I warned you that you would be asked to develop one. So the time has come. Additionally, appropriate ISO standards can be incorporated with these tools, techniques, policies, regulations, etc. Students are required to incorporate some aspects of all assessments since it's a continuation. In other words, what was in your assessment 1, assessment 2, all those concepts and the knowledge you may incorporate into this final main assessment. The main objective of this assessment is to develop an integrated management system manual for the South African education system. Okay, just to share class and Doc, the quality of the work that had been done by the team of, I think about 3 years ago, was such that the information was easily incorporated into someone's thesis. So we expect that the work that you come with, it is work that is well researched. You've applied the tools appropriately, such that the information is of a quality that can either be published or be utilized into some kind of further, study. Okay, and of course you may consult between myself, Doc, or anybody else to check you are on track, the clear understanding of what needs to be done, guidance on what you have worked on, a typical research assignment where you can draft your framework and double check and work on milestones. Once you've done this first part, send it to check and move on to the second part, that kind of thing. Okay, Doc, am I missing the point?
No, no, you're still on track, Doc. You can proceed.
Thanks. So the first part is the context of this South African basic education system. So you've got the case, and then you're going to now need to break it down into the context. What is it? And the following bullet points or sub questions, they are leading you or assisting you on how to build up this context. So the nature of the organization 1.1 and the existing integrated management system. So read the case, see if you are able to identify what kind of organization this is, okay? And what are the systems or management systems at play for you to be able to say at the end of the day, these are 9,001, this is a 14,001, etc. that is at play. So you have to show the understanding the organization. You'll be getting the marks there of 5 marks out of the 50 and its context. You will be using the ISO 9000 clauses to support you and your understanding on how to approach the questions. So you will be able to go to the context of the organization clause to understand what it means and how you would be utilizing that information to identify the context of this particular organization. Understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties. Those who are doing auditing, they'll find this quite useful or quite exciting, because this is what they would do. So they, when they come and say, I'm auditing the context of the organization, understanding the needs and expectations of the interested parties, where do you look for that information? Determining the scope of the IMS, where do you look for that information? Any questions so far?
Doc, I can just add. Let
Yeah.
me try and then also just to add, to contextualize it, because I know that our team maybe actually, we are all familiar with the service sector and manufacturing sector. And then I think the education actually entity is quite different than actually those sectors that we have. I think this is going to be interesting because it's at first in terms of us actually using this sector, because I think the previous assessment or assignment was more of, we have looked at the privates actually at manufacturing sector, service sector, few of the sectors, and also the state-owned enterprises as well. I think last year we have used the state-owned enterprises. The reason is actually, I think as quality practitioners, we should be able to implement quality anywhere, or to implement integrated management system anywhere across all sectors. But I think now the aspect of education is going to be very interesting, because instead of a vision, if we were to understand then the sector here, or the education, the basic education system, its uniqueness, actually it derives from the mandate of the Department of Education. So please then, you need to understand what is the mandate, what is expected of this department to do or to deliver, or the services that they should be rendering. Right. And then I think the second bullet then, and then the needs, because from those rather from that mandate, then I think as citizens we expect then the Department of Education then actually to deliver certain services, or either to meet or to exceed our expectations. And also there are different stakeholders or parties that also they've got interest in terms of the Department of Education. So, such as the school governing bodies, if I can just mention, they also expect maybe the conduct of the teachers or the conduct of the principal. These are the things that we really need to try to contextualize it clearly. Let us not really, I don't know how can I put it, because sometimes we use AI, which is not really well aligned sometimes with a South African context or in practice, because there are some issues that we are aware of. You can read previous reports of the department where issues perhaps are highlighted in terms of management on how these schools are managed, whereby maybe there are no systems in place in terms of monitoring and evaluation, or holding actually the leaders accountable and all, just to name but few issues. So these are the things that we need to consider, because the third bullet in terms of determining the scope of IMS, it is not just the scope based on the predefined actually IMS scope, because oftentimes what I've picked up the previous actually assessment in relation to this assignment, that actually students, they just replicate what they got from other IMS manual. The other IMS manual, I think they're there just to show us in terms of the outline when it comes to the clauses and other sections that actually we should be looking into. Please then, in terms of you determining the scope of IMS, it should be relevant to this particular case. To say currently, actually, after our critical analysis of this case study and other cases that maybe are similar to this case, these are the gaps. And then also, again, if you're looking at understanding actually the needs and expectations, if those needs and expectations are not met, so our next scope in terms of trying to implement IMS within this sector should also be addressing these needs and expectations that were not met. We need to be intentional. We need to be well aligned and responsive to what actually the need of this sector, that we are trying to demonstrate that through IMS, actually, they might be able to address some of these issues. Or rather, okay, we're going to come back to, okay, the issues are down there in terms of their needs and all that. So please, let's be more relevant in terms of that. Coming to 1.2, and then the challenges to be addressed with IMS approach. Basically here, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to demonstrate based on what we have learned that actually the Department of Education also can look into the quality management standards, but also to take it further to IMS. I'm not sure if they've attempted IMS. If they've tried it, they failed, then we can come up and then again with some approaches in how they can really readdress that implementation perhaps that they could not succeed. But if they haven't, we are in a better position as well to establish the management standards that actually the education sector currently is using, and how mature perhaps those standards they are now, in order for us then to advocate IMS. But then again, from the IMS then perspective, we always look at internal and external issues, which I'm of the view that now we have established those issues through the case studies. What issues are they currently facing? Then from those issues, you should be able then to determine whether these are internal or external.
Not too sure whether it's me or it's dog that has faded away. Is it me?
No,
No,
that's
also on my side as well.
it's only dog. I don't
Think,
see.
yeah, it's dog.
Let me send him a message. Has someone tried to call him? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Goodbye. All right. I will urge you to please ask questions. He's marking this one. Okay. So you need to be clear on the expectations. Okay. You can go as, utilize all the tools. You can, I already see the SWOT analysis here, or the PESTEL, where you're looking at the context of the organization, way to give you what the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, this basic education system, where it says that South Africa, the money that they are spending, investing in this education, is equal to developed countries of our level. And yet we are so behind that even some countries in Africa are on par with us in terms of output. So we do have the money. We've got the opportunity to get it right. I mean, I'm looking at things like, is it teachers? There's a lot that's said about teachers. They either demotivated, or they are not properly trained or qualified, and things like that. So you need to be too open and not restrict your focus on IMS module. I'm also going to suggest to Doc that maybe we have these weekly catch-up sessions to see where you are, and also where you can ask questions. Okay. So he was talking about the challenges both internally and externally. I mean, you'll see there in the case, what are the challenges that are being faced. Some are structural, but you need to read the case to be able to answer that. Selection and justification of the proposed management standards, techniques, and tools, and also try to go beyond just the formal standards, formal management systems. So it mustn't be just looking at 9001, 14,000, etc. Look at what management system that you think could be useful in addressing some of the deficiencies that you will see here. I'm thinking of, so if we're saying that we talk about the critical success factors, where we talk about the top management commitment and support, are we seeing that from our education bosses? Are they committed, supporting? What about the maturity of the systems, the current systems? Are they showing any? Oh, is he? Yeah, okay. Doc, please carry on. You were still on point 1.2. Hi, you don't want to be Doc, Ngazi?
Okay, I think I've already muted. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Toro. Yeah, let's proceed. Yes. Just to add on that, because we have the view that sometimes we tend to focus on the common, also management standards that are there. But then again, as Dr. said, please let's just check if there are any others that you think perhaps we can incorporate to address some of these issues. Let's do so. Right, moving to 1.4, readiness assessment. I think also this one is going to require us a bit of interacting with some of the schools. Because if we have now selected, actually, we've got an idea of the internal and external issues. And then now we're trying to come up with selecting the appropriate tools and techniques or management standards. We also now need to look at the readiness assessment. Are these schools really ready, actually, for us to assist in terms of implementing IMS? Then in terms of readiness assessment, I'm of the view that you have covered that concept of readiness assessment. How do we conduct readiness assessment? Just to see if the status quo of these schools in terms of actually implementing IMS. Because also what that does as well, it's kind of like give us an overview of perhaps the need to capacitate them. If they are not actually ready, therefore, what are the interventions that which perhaps we can propose that should be done in terms of, closing the gap of readiness? Because if they are not ready, then we cannot proceed with the implementation. I think also the readiness assessment is critical for us as quality practitioners to say if perhaps we have been called in by any organization to assess them in terms of readiness assessment, in terms of IMS. I think readiness assessment, it is a fixed exercise that we kind of like do in terms of looking at the culture, looking at currently how these schools are managed, and then is there perhaps any aspect that we believe that it's really not well aligned with what we expect to be. For example, if there is no common understanding between the leadership of these schools and the teachers in terms of what quality management system is, because I think study has proven as well or suggests that oftentimes there is actually a lack of common understanding between top management and the workforce in terms of quality management systems. For example, some top management, they believe that quality is just an add-on. It has no direct impact in terms of operational efficiency or some other aspect of the business. But if then there is that differing perspective in terms of what quality is, I think then as practitioners, our duty is to do workshop, is to try and then to have that awareness and then try to equip them in terms of understanding what quality is and how it can benefit the organization. Now, in terms of Department of Education as well, I think then some of the team members, you might be required perhaps maybe to engage as well with the schools, just to kind of like have a feel in terms of are they have any quality management systems? How actually are they applying or how mature those systems are? Or if there are gaps, then how can we help them? I think that's going to give you a bit of an understanding in terms of, in practice of these schools, how do they really implement those management systems? Then we should be able to identify the gaps and try to establish then on how we can assist. Then in terms of readiness, then again, I think as we engage with them, then we can look at the behavior. Are they willing to be assisted or are they still pushing back, thinking that their traditional ways of doing things is their traditional ways of doing things is still appropriate? Because I think people, they've been teachers for 10, 15 years, 20 years, they still believe that their ways of teaching, ways of doing things is still applicable. Meanwhile, some of us, we're thinking that, look, the world of education has really been evolving the past years, so we need then to adapt. All right. Dr. Toyo, before we proceed, I think the second section is really it's a common section that derives from the clauses. I think responding to these sections is going to be quite simple, but the contextualization in terms of the leadership, the planning, the support, as much as you've got a lot of examples around these clauses, but the contextualization then with the education sector, it is imperative. Let it not be a generic, actually, as stipulated. Yes, the clause stipulates in terms of what is expected, but then now we need then to go further and then expected in terms of the education system. We're responding and aligning our answers with this particular sector. Please, and then let us be mindful of that. Right. I want us to go back to section section 1, if just to address any questions or if there's any clarity needed in terms of this section, because it's very important that we understand this first part. Hence, then we said earlier, groups are required, okay, not required, you are welcome to consult. So either you can actually request an appointment with me or Dr. Toyo, so that then we can assist you in terms of really start working with this section. I think section 2 for me, that is just straightforward. But what is important, it is the contextualization of section 1. Firstly, understanding the mandate of Department of Education, especially the basic education. What is the mandate? What is expected of them? Therefore, what are the needs and expectations of those parties? You need to identify those parties that really they've got interest in terms of this department, and what are their expectations and needs. And then I think from the case study as well, you establish the gaps. You establish what they are lacking with. They're lacking with this and this and this. Who is it affecting? So these are the things that then we need really now to unpack. All right. I don't know. Are there any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Or is it clear? You're good to go. Please, let's talk.
Doc, okay, can I ask nicely again? Maybe again next week this time, just for a few minutes, if you could join, just for us to listen to them again. It's first time that they got the actual assignment or assessment, so they are probably digesting it. It's probably not enough yet for them to have, sunk. Oh, there you are, George. To really capture the essence, to be able to establish the kind of questions. But I think you gave them a very strong foundation. And I'd like to just stress on the context, the stakeholders. These are different, from the healthcare system or the manufacturing system. Here you've got people like unions, SATU, who are so powerful. And if you think that you're going to train teachers or tell teachers to do things without having spoken to SATU yet, you're going to go tell the principal without talking to the governing body. So it takes a different kind of person to understand the dynamics here. So the interview with the people that are participants will be very helpful for you to understand the context.
Absolutely.
That would be my advice.
I like the way you have just decolonized it, because that actually part, that part is critical, because all the changes in terms of the system needs to go through actually the unions, because if it affects the employees, definitely they would push back, But nonetheless, Dr. Toro, thank you so much. And the team, I wish you all the best. And team, please feel free if there's any need for consultation. But firstly, I would suggest that you just try these questions and then you discuss it as a team. And then if there's any clarity needed, we are both available. Please feel free then to make an appointment, then we'll attend to you. I think that's all from my end. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Toyo.
Thank you so much, Doc. I think I don't see any hands, so it must have been clear then. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Good night, Doc.
Thank you, Doc. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, class, I'm sure it's new. I'm going to upload this assessment and together with tonight's lecture notes. And I was tempted to move this lecture because I really busy trying to finalize my marking, please. And I want to finish tonight. And I'm just doing one last question. And these 15 marks, it's not like maths where you can just use one. You have to read it, as you know. So let's quickly do the lecture, tonight's lecture. If you don't mind, can we cap it by half-past to have finished, because really it is the audits. So those who is an auditor here, or maybe who has not audited before, who has not audited either a quality audit or a safety or a finance or any. Okay, so Karabo, you haven't audited before. Okay, so there's a couple of you. Okay, so it's fine. But you have been audited. You have had someone coming to audit you. Okay. So it's usually if you have not audited, you get someone coming to audit you. Okay. And thanks. And when you get audited, you get to understand what it is about. I think someone had their hands up. Okay. So I have been audited and I have audited. I have seen auditors coming, some very formal auditors. They would send me, and first they would agree on the audit date, and they would tell me how long, and they would send me the audit agenda and scope and the times and when the break would take place and when would be the opening meeting, the closing meeting, and the times, and whether it's going to be one auditor, two auditors. And so they would do that ahead of time with the scope of the audit, of what they're going to be auditing and why they are auditing. And when they come to audit, they would we would get management or leadership to come for that opening meeting. So this is where they would go through the audit plan again and the scope to make sure that the objective of the audit is clearly understood, the whole agenda, the scope, and the timeline, the time and when things will happen. It's well understood, so that if things needs to be fixed for realignment, they are done during the opening meeting. So that, and they will tell when they will be, how they conduct the audit. They're going to say that they audit in such a way, and that they interview people or they go to walk the floor. They would like to first do the factory tour or whatever. They're going to start at incoming goods and end wherever and do documentation, and they go through the clauses and they reassign the auditors, etc. And then they say that senior management who may wish to leave the room and work on what is most important for the day. So look, I'm not showing those slides, please. Okay, not yet. They would say that they may leave the room and only come back during the closing meeting, or they may come at any time they wish to just check what is going on. And then they would also indicate either at opening or even at closing meeting that when they will send the report and how they are going to be doing their observations, non-conformity, non-conformances, etc., and how they're going to be defining the classification of their non-conformances or observations or findings, either critical, major, minor, etc. So all of these things is contained in an audit, formalized audit approach. Okay. We also have different audits, so we've got internal audits, which are slightly less formal compared to the third-party audits, where you get ISO people coming or GMP people from the regulators, etc., where things are so formalized. And also you would agree on the corrective action plan. and your recommendations on how you are going to correct things and the timeline. And usually those that are critical, they are given a very short turnaround time because they are critical. And those that are major and minor, perhaps not as urgent or as priority, because it goes with the definition. Yeah, so this is what basically audit is all about. So my point here is that it has not changed. It's still the same audit. All we are doing here is that we've got now one group of people, one person who's auditing your organization, one person, one group auditing more than one management system. So without integrated management system, you come and audit, you get someone from ISO 9001 to come and audit that ISO 9001, and then they leave. And then next time it's someone who comes from the 14,001 certification, recertification, surveillance, whatever, they come, they go. From the other one for the 45,000. So now we are putting all of these together into one. But now the most important thing here is that first you must have a combined scope, a combined so that you can have a combined checklist, so that you can know that you've covered all the clauses, all the aspects of that integrated management system. So you've got one person who's using that checklist or who's using that approach to audit these combined. If you remember in your assessment too, we asked you to look for commonality. So that was an approach towards putting an integrated clauses to form one integrated system. So now you'd be using that set of which clauses you'd be auditing. Okay. So it's someone, one person or a couple of people, but those people must be competent enough to understand the different systems, different management systems. If it's going to be 9001, 14,000 and whatever, that person must be able to know all three of them. Maybe not in detail, but to know what to look for. It might be someone who is a qualified auditor, a certified auditor, or someone who's competent and trained, who's undergone lead auditor training, etc. And it must be, yeah, and then there must be, then the rest of the process is similar, because you're going to still need to have the normal opening meeting, closing meeting, reports, etc., etc., so that at the end of the day, you can highlight whether the system was effective or was not effective. Okay. All right. So let me get on with it. Before that, let me ask questions. Any questions before I show the notes? Okay. So people like Karabo. Karabo, if it's not clear, please, I don't mind taking you through this again with other people, and also invite you on a case. I do a couple of audits. I know I've got I do a lot on supplier qualifications, because part of the vendor approval, you have to have been qualified, and there's quite a lot of those with all these R&D or new product development, new businesses, etc. So I can take you on a case, and of course with a disclaimer, because as an auditor, you have to uphold confidentiality. It's one of the things that you have to say up front. So it would be just a process, and what I would do and even if it means that I have to ask someone from the teams that I work with, just to show you how they do it. Okay, so that part I can do, but tonight I just want to quickly run through a couple of things, very few, but it will just be trying to cement what I've just spoken about. I really would like to end sooner so that I can carry on with the marking. But I'm prepared to answer questions and clarify as we go along. Okay. Let me just quickly. So this is lecture, and I'm going to put this under lecture notes, lecture 12. Okay. Share the notes. I'm not going to go through all slides. Look, this is important. Today is the 12th. Today was supposed to have been our first oral presentation, so we're running a bit late. And then the next one should have been next week. And after that, you should have been free. Okay, so tonight was supposed to be my last lecture. I'll still be around next week just to finalize whatever could not be finalized. I think it will be more listening to your assessment 3 and your challenges, and see how with Doc. Please ask questions to next week, okay? And also, please don't put boundaries in what you write, okay? I've seen assessment 3 from the other groups before, but I was not part of that group of lectures, okay? So we need to wrap up, and then of course we've done everything here. So it was now the integrated audits, and then with these audits, the audits, auditing audits, it's quite generic. Okay, so you'll see, even if you look at the different standards, ISO 9001 will tell you what is an audit, what is internal, external audits. Food safety 22,000, same definitions. It's very similar. So these you can get from the standards, and I did give you the standards, the definitions. And then the principles, there's quite a lot of them. I think as an auditor, as a person who's auditing, just the level of integrity has to be very high. And it is suggested that you apply the plan, do, check, act approach, initiating an audit, conducting an audit, completing an audit with your report, and then you do the follow-up, because there are findings, etc. And sometimes you go back to go check if what you had found as a non-conformance, has it been fixed, through the corrective action, preventive action approach has been done. And then this is just the typical approach of auditing. You're collecting by sampling, you evaluate what you see versus what is the standard. And you state, I'll show you, see the next slide, which captures nicely where you find a non-conformance and how was it, where's the objective evidence, and what was the standard, what should have been there. I'll show you now. Okay, these different methods, you review the records, you feedback, interview, observations. These are the types, the methodology. Okay, this is just the definition of what an audit is. It's quite clear, Karabo. It's systematic, independent, and documented process for obtaining audit evidence and evaluating it. So it's evidence and evaluate it to determine the extent to which the audit criteria are fulfilled or not fulfilled. So it is finding an issue, and then you look at it to see if objectively how it compares to what should have been there. So it's a black ball. It's a ball that is black, and then you look at it, you see it is black, and your standard needed white balls. So it's a ball that is black. Ball, it's black. That's you evaluated it. You know that it is black, and then you objectively you see it's black against the standard, which should have been white. And then the types of audits, systems audits, where you audit the system, the process, the product, or the compliance audits. And usually these are for different objectives. Rose, what are the difference in these? What is it? Where would you be using systems audits, and where would you use products, etc.? Do you, or maybe she's not listening. Okay, Snetemba, are you able to answer me? Israel, are you with us? Okay, so they are not with us. They are not with us, or they don't want to answer. Okay, no, it's fine. All right, let's carry on. I'm not going to come to you, Elroy. I'll be picking up on you. You've saved the class so many times. It would be unfair of me.
Hi, Doc.
Just remember, there's a class participation mark, and I've been thinking about that. No, not that you need it anyway, Elroy. It may come in handy. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Doc. Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Apologies, yeah, I was on mute. It's Israel, yeah?
Oh, yeah, Israel.
Yeah, so apologies for that.
No, it's okay.
So just to go back to your questions, you said, what's the difference between them, or?
No, so I'm saying that I'm trying to explain to someone who hasn't done auditing, or maybe they've been exposed to this for the first time or so. If I apply, because there are different audit types, systems, etc. So where would I be applying this one, and where would I be applying the other one? It's extending what I'm trying to say now. So I just need to give someone a chance to explain further. You don't have to be talking about this. You can talk about something within auditing, but which will add value to our discussion now.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, so if I'm audible, so it's fine, I'll continue. So correct, there's different types of audits, right? So when it comes to systems audits, it speaks to the management system that you have in place. It could be a quality management system, an occupational health and safety management system, or ISO 14001, which is your environmental management system. So when it comes to that type of system, you want to check whether, firstly, is that system in line with the scope or the context of that organization, right? Is it well implemented? Are the necessary processes or the controls that speaks to that system, are they correctly what you call this, implemented, right? Then when we go to, let's do compliance audit, right? So compliance audit, again, it depends on the type of the relevant regulations, the relevant laws, and the standards, including your internal policies that are applicable to the organization. So it could be industry standards. It could also be how well is the company complying to internal procedures. I think when we started with the lecture, we also made reference to systems that are coming from a global implementation point of view. So your local company will be expected to comply to global procedures, right? But also, most importantly, regulatory requirements. How well is the company complying to those regulatory compliance requirements? It could be food safety, environmental regulations, etc. Yeah. From a manufacturing process point of view, again, this depends on the industry, the processes that are followed. You want to assess how well is your system complying to the process inputs, and also how well it speaks to your process outputs. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. That's sufficient. You've covered it quite nicely.
Yeah.
All right. Let's carry on. Thanks. I know other people would like to talk, but you also want to get your marks. So let's do this quickly so that I may be released to finish off the marking. So the integrated audit, it is really an audit that's carried by that team or that person, but auditing two or more management systems. Okay, this is just a definition, and then there are benefits, which we did discuss a couple of times. That I think the big one is from the IAF document 11, that the total audit time, it gets reduced by 20% through integrated audit. Yeah, so the benefits they're quite, if you've done IMS by this time, you should be able to think of the benefits yourself. And then here I'm just showing the typical audit plan, where we send this to the auditee and say that we're going to be coming in Feb the 12th, and from this time to that time we're going to be having an opening meeting, and we'll be doing plant tour, and this is where we're going to start doing this and that and that. This is just to guide, and also for the leadership or senior managers to be able to, or even the heads of department, to be able to prepare themselves, at that time, this is where I'm going to be needed. Yeah, so that when we discuss this during the opening meeting, if you say that, no, we need to make some changes, we cross it out and put the new item or changed item, so that we don't have a disrupted audit session. And then, of course, out of here, you are able now to put a checklist like that, where you're going to be putting your 3 systems into what you're going to be auditing. Under competence, you've already put here what to audit. I'm going to be asking them, are there competency requirements defined for different types of positions, etc. So as an auditor, you come prepared with all these things. It helps to have, I don't like checklists because I feel they are restrictive. But unfortunately, when you have to do numerous audits, then it becomes necessary. Okay. I used to prefer to audit a day, and I thought it was a good thing to do, so that I don't have to waste time. And then I got to a stage where I feel it is not possible, because you need to audit and take the tour and do all these things. you still need time to write up and go through your checklist properly so that you've got a sound closing meeting with a good draft of your findings. Okay, and then this differs. I know certain management systems, they use different categories. Here I've put critical, major, minor, opportunity for improvement, or sometimes they join them, minor and opportunity for improvement to be the same. Karabo, you'll read, it's quite clear, sis. And Karabo, it's quite clear. And if there are any questions, I'm available.
Yeah, so far so good, Doc.
Yeah, and please remember, I can even go make the Saturday at the university and rerun this again. But I think you are safe. Okay, so this is a typical report, part of the report where you've written where you audited. This was the molding department, and they audited the operator training, and the auditor was Karabo, and he used these systems standards he was auditing based on these standards, and he's got the reference to this finding, and he's written here the non-conformity is that the document control process is not effective. That is the non-conformance, and the requirement. He's put all the clauses where they say ensure that the relevant versions of applicable documents are available at points of use. So their current process, maybe it doesn't put the documents at the point of use, and they say the document control system is not effective. And they say the objective evidence, the operator instructions for the machine shows the current revision level as B a few months ago. Oh, so yeah, it's not aligned to showing revisions. So there's a version control issue here. So this is just an example, and that's it. Okay, I'm done for tonight, and I'll be spending just equally 15 minutes and taking questions next week, not only on audits, but on anything that we have done, or if anyone needs me to help on the framework for certain aspects of the assessment 3, we can discuss that as well. Okay. Yes, please. I saw a hand.
Hi, good day, sir. I wanted
Good
to
day,
ask, were
ma'am.
you able to upload
I'm
the
going to do it
previous
now.
or the
So
previous study material and the recordings?
I did the last study material. The recording should be there. If not, I'll just double check. But these two I'm going to upload now.
All right, please just double check the previous one as well.
I'm sure the
Thank you.
previous one, I'm sure it just made the recording. I don't upload it. I just record and think that it is recorded, but I'll check the recording. Anything else? All right. A good night, team, and all the best. Enjoy the assessment 3. Good night. Yes, please,
Thank you.
Mr. Kobeni.
Doc, I see there's a question from Karabo Masingi.
Oh,
In the
let me
chat.
see.
Karabo, was it? Are you okay? Or has it been answered? I think the difference between the two. I'm just seeing
No,
it
it
now.
has not been answered. I
Oh,
just want
sorry, I
some
didn't see.
clarity. Because in my understanding, I could be wrong, right? When you audit either a process or a system, you're checking for compliance, isn't it? So I'm seeing there's system audits and compliance audits. So I just wanted to understand the difference.
Is Israel with us?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So essentially you will be looking at the processes, right? But if you look at the big difference between the two, it's the scope, right? And also the objective. So if you look at compliance audits, they are very specific to the relevant laws, the regulations, the internal policies. And also sometimes it covers contractual obligations that you have with customers, or if there's any co-packers, right? But from a systems point of view, it is specific to that management system that will be applicable to that organization. And sometimes it might be, it only looks at like your objective and also how effective are you in terms of implementing the tool. Whereas, remember, I think there was a part that says manufacturing process audits. That one,
Yes.
it looks at your process by process, depending on what you are making. Like, for instance, if you want to improve your process waste, you're going to have to audit each process and identify what is the input, what is the output. Are you getting the desired output? How can you improve it to get the desired output if you want to reduce waste? So in that case, a manufacturing process audit will be applicable. Yeah, Rose, I see your hand is up.
Thanks.
Rose, I see your hand is up. Yeah.
This is maybe to assist in answering that question. Good evening. Yeah. So in terms of compliance audits, these are normally regulatory and legal audits wherein the focus is very narrow and it's very specific. So you're looking at what is it that the regulatory requirements are for that organization and what are the corresponding legal requirements. So from a systems audit perspective, you're checking the effectiveness and the efficiency of implementation of a particular standard or management system within an organization. So it's not, it's only done to look at areas of improvement. So you're checking your system to see if there are risks or areas of improvements, where else the objective for the compliance audit is to ensure compliance with the laws or the applicable rules. I hope I make sense. Thanks.
Yeah. And to answer your second question there, I think who is the auditee? So basically, if you were to go back to what Doc mentioned, there is a document that will cover the the terminology there. But basically, it's the organization that is being audited or the person that is being audited, to just put it simply. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks so much. I think there was another hand. Okay. No, thanks so much. Have I covered all the comments or questions in the chat box?
Yes, Doc. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I really appreciate your input, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, and all the best. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.